And we are now recording. So welcome everybody to the Team Rhino call, very special Team Rhino call on August 20th. I'm just going to get right into it. We've got a special guest speaker tonight, and so we're not going to do any of the normal stuff that we normally do on a team call. We're just going to jump right into that. And our guest speaker, as many of you know, is Bob Burg, who is the co-author of The Go-Giver and Go-Giver Sell More. And Bob actually agrees with a lot of the things that we talk about on this team about subtle shifts in focus, about focusing on adding value to other people, making a huge difference in your business. And Bob is a sought-after speaker, company leadership, sales conferences, all kinds of stuff like that. He regularly addresses audiences ranging anywhere from a small group like this group all the way up to 16,000. He's shared the platform with notable speakers, including today's top thought leaders, broadcast personalities, Olympic athletes, political leaders, even a former U.S. president. He's the co-author of The Go-Giver and Go-Givers Sell More, which are international bestsellers, and the author of Endless Referrals and numerous other books. He's got more than 1 million copies sold in total. And The Go-Giver has even been translated into 21 different languages. His newest book, which is next on my reading list, is called Adversaries into Allies: Win People Over Without Manipulation or Coercion, which is a really good title because it is something that makes you just want to read it if you're in the direct selling business, right? Because nobody likes to manipulate or coerce people, but we would love to win people over. So that's a great, that's next on my list. Bob's also an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. He's also an unapologetic animal fanatic. I love this part. And he serves as the vice president of the board of directors of Furry Friends Adoption and Clinic in his town of Jupiter, Florida. So I'm super excited to have Bob on. We're going to get to ask Bob a bunch of questions. Bob, do you have anything you want to say before we get into the questions?
No, just hello. It's great to be here. It's been great getting to know you over social media, and it's so obvious what a great leader you are. And I'm just, and always love speaking with beach body coaches. And I think you guys just do some terrific stuff.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. What I'd like to do to start with is just ask you to give us a little bit of background on how you got into sales and into writing books like The Go-Giver. Because based on what I've read in the book, it doesn't sound like this stuff that you wrote about is something that you learned in a classroom. It sounds like it came kind of from the school of hard knocks, so to speak. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they teach selling in school or colleges or whatever these days. I'm 57, and they certainly didn't, when I was in school. I started out as a broadcaster, first in radio, sports, and then in television news. I was working as a news anchor for a small ABC affiliate in the Midwest. And I was really I was a lousy news anchor. I wasn't very good. I could read the news. That was easy, but I wasn't a journalist per se. I was 24 years old. I really had no idea of the news, and I didn't really care at the time. And I think I was probably too positive for the medium anyway. My idea of a good newscast opening would have been to say, "Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Burg, and the news tonight. Everything's great. Go to bed, and we'll let you know if something comes up," right? And so I was very quickly out of news. And as I like to say, I graduated into sales. Now, here was the challenge. I intuitively understood that sales was obviously about helping others, about bringing value. Otherwise, why would someone buy from you? But I didn't know how to do it. I hadn't been trained as a sales professional. I didn't even realize there was such a thing as a sales professional. I just thought you went out, you talked to people, and hopefully you made sales. And that didn't work out real well. So I was floundering. And fortunately, I was in a bookstore, and I came across a book. And this is 35 years ago. This is back in the day when the main feature, and most of the people in your team won't remember this, but in those days, when you went into a bookstore, the main feature of a bookstore was books. And so, I went to the business section and saw there was a sales section. And then I saw this book by Tom Hopkins called How to Master the Art of Selling. The art of selling? I had no idea. You mean there's like a system to this stuff? And I got the book, and I began, at night, I would study it. I would practice. I would drill. I would rehearse. I just went through, highlighted and underlined and took notes and did the whole thing. Within about 3 weeks, my sales went through the roof. Now, I think there's a lesson here. And that is, we have to ask the question, what was the difference between where I started 3 weeks earlier and where I was 3 weeks later? Nothing but a system. Having the knowledge to put into play and get to a certain goal. I define a system, Ryan, as simply the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key is predictability. If you know that it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired results of B, then all you need to do is A and do A consistently and persistently, and you'll get the desired results of B. And I learned a sales system. I started studying guys like Zig Ziglar and some of the ones who back then were the big. And I continued to study sales, and my sales continued to climb. I worked my way up to sales manager of a company, started teaching others what was working for me, and blah blah blah. And eventually, I started speaking on the topic, and have been doing that ever since. As far as writing books, my first book, Endless Referrals, I wrote only because I had learned that writing a book was a good way to position yourself as a speaker in order to get more bookings, higher fees, and so forth, which certainly was true. And then about 8 years ago, I teamed up with John David Mann, a fantastic writer and storyteller, and we did The Go-Giver, and that's kind of where it's been.
Awesome. That's a great story. I love it. I was talking with John on email just the other day, and he was telling me that he has some background in direct marketing and in multi-level marketing.
He built a huge business years and years ago. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was wondering if you had any background in that, or how your background went. So that's good to hear your story and kind of coming up through that and then starting to write books. That's awesome. Now let's talk about The Go-Giver a little bit more, like just kind of a basic premise of the book. I think a lot of people might pick that book up and it would seem to contradict traditional wisdom, like the go-getter type principles. I don't really think that this idea is very new to my audience and the people you're talking to here, because Beachbody's really good about talking about adding value to others and that being the key. But I think for a lot of people, it's a mystery of how it all works together. Like, how do you give and stuff? So maybe just give a basic premise of the book and how how everything kind of works together there.
Sure. Well, there's a few aspects there within that question. First, great question. What is the premise? What is it really about? And really, it's nothing more than that shifting one's focus. And that's really the key. Shifting one's focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing value to others. And that doing so is not only a nice way to live life, but a very financially profitable way as well. When you think of it, there's nothing woo-woo about that. It makes totally logical, practical sense. Why are people going to buy from you? They're not going to buy from, and let's say we're not even talking about joining your team. I'm talking about just as a coaching client. Why are they going to, entrust you with their health and their wellness and with so they're not going to do it because you have a quota to meet. They're not going to do it because you need the money, or even because you think you have the best product, service out there, what have you. Okay, you might. That's not why they're going to do it. Right. They're going to do it because they see it's of value, more value to them to do so than to not do so. So it's only when you shift your focus, when you move from an I focus or me focus to an other focus, and they understand that your focus is on them, okay, that's when it begins. And so shifting your focus from yourself to them, that's really such a key. This is why we say that money is an echo of value. It's the thunder to value's lightning, if you will. In other words, the value comes first, and that happens because the focus is on the other person and what they need, what they want, what they desire. Why would they want to become involved with that? Why would they want to be your client? And so the value comes first. The money you receive is simply a very natural and direct result of the value you've provided. This is also the same when you bring someone in to your business as a coach in your organization. It's not why you think they should do it. It's finding out why they would find it advantageous to do. For whatever reason that is, that's where your focus needs to be. And so that's why it's so very practical. Now, you talked about it being sort of counterintuitive, go giver rather than go getter. Well, here's the funny thing. People ask, well, are you and John David Mann saying that you don't like go getters? I mean, we always thought being a go getter was the word. Of course, we love go getters. Why? Well, go getters take action. Go getters get things done. You're a business person. You're very, very successful. And many of the people in your organization are already very, very successful. Others are on their way to being successful. One thing we all know is that you can have the best thoughts, the greatest ideas, the most fantastic intention, but unless action's put into the mix, nothing's going to happen. So no, you got to be a go-getter also. The good news is that there's no natural division between a go-getter and a go-giver. Many go-getters are also go-givers, and we would say that every go-giver is also a go-getter. The opposite of a go-giver then is not a go-getter. The opposite of a go-giver is a go-taker. Mm-hmm. This is that person whose entire focus is on the take, right? It's on, they feel this entitlement. They feel as though people just owe them.
Right.
And these are the people, and we all know people like this. They can be good people, but they tend to be very frustrated because they tend to not achieve that level of success they feel they deserve. And even those times they do, and they do sometimes just through hard work, but it tends to not last very long because it hasn't been built on a correct foundation. So when we say go-giver, we're really just talking about that man or woman who has learned or perhaps always intuitively knew that, again, it's that person who can move, who can shift their focus from themselves to bringing value to others. That's the person who accomplishes the most.
Right. That's awesome. I was thinking as you were talking that a lot of people tend to probably, especially in direct sales, think of when they join a company like Beachbody that the value that they now have is that they have a website portal for people to buy products through them. And I think that's kind of a common misconception, is that what I now am able to provide is a website portal for people to buy products. And what you're saying and what I hear from you is that that's not the value. The value is much more than that. And it goes way beyond, because they can buy products anywhere, right? They could go to a different coach. They could go to an infomercial from Beachbody. They could go somewhere else and buy a different brand, whatever. The value is not the website portal that you have. It's what you provide in addition to that. It's how you listen to them. It's how you provide value into their lives in other ways.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. When we talk about law number one, the law of value, let's look at how that really comes into play, because you bring up a great point. The law of value simply says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when you first hear this, that's a little confusing, because it sounds a little like, give more in value than I take in payment. How am I supposed to stay in business that way? How am I supposed to survive, never mind thrive? Am I supposed to lose money? And of course, that's not what we mean. When we say give more in value than we take in payment, we first have to understand the difference between price and value. You see, price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of something, of a thing, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, this service, this opportunity, this idea, this philosophy, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to someone that they will willingly exchange their money or time or energy or what have you for this, and feel great about it while you also make a very healthy profit. Now, let me very quickly give an example outside the business, then we'll bring it to the business. Let's say you hire an accountant to do your tax return. This accountant charges you $1,000. Well, that's his fee. Literally, it's his price, $1,000. But what value does he give you in exchange? Well, first, from his years of study and experience, his desirability to get to know you and your business, what you're looking to accomplish, learning about the business, the entire experience he provides. He's able to save you $5,000 in taxes. He also saves you countless hours of time, and he provides you with the security and peace of mind so that you and your wife and your two beautiful twin daughters feel, just peace of mind, knowing it's done correctly and right. And so what we see, first of all, is that, again, while price is finite, value can be both concrete in terms of $5,000 savings. It's pretty easy to get our arms around that, but also conceptual in terms of the peace of mind, which probably holds a lot more value or worth to you than even the money saved. Right. So what he did is he gave you well over $5,000 in value or use value in exchange for $1,000 price or cash value. He gave you more in value than he took in payment. So you feel great about it, and he made a very, very healthy profit, which he should. Well, let's say as a Beachbody coach, let's just say a customer of yours, a client, someone you're training, someone they're paying you a certain amount of money for the programs, for the products, for the, whatever that is. And hopefully it's a very healthy fee, okay? Because I want you to make a profit on it. You should. But what value are you giving them? It's not the website. It's not the product or program itself. It's what that product or program does for them. It's what makes them healthier. It gives them more energy. It gives them confidence. They look better. They feel better. Their relationships are better because they feel better about themselves. And that's just the start. There's a whole bunch of other things. Then there's the value you provide through what we call the elements of value. Excellence, really knowing your stuff and knowing what you do, but excellence, how you make them feel about themselves, how you make them feel good about themselves. There's consistency. You're there with them all the time. There's attention to detail. There's empathy, understanding they may be in an uncomfortable position, feeling not good about themselves or not understanding something, but you're empathetic. There's the appreciation. You're making them feel appreciated and valued because they are. What about when you bring someone into your business as a coach? They're trading their money, they're trading their time, they're training, but what do? You're giving them the excellence of you as a leader and going up to your mentors to help them understand a system for building the business. You're giving them time, you're giving them attention, you're giving them empathy, you're giving them, so it's all those things that you do. It's much more than the website's important, it's good they can order, but it's you that is that additional value.
Awesome. That's it's just right on it. I mean, that's what we talk about on our team all the time. It's the additional value we provide, the community that we provide. We provide a community where people feel like they're a part of something, and that's super valuable to people. They get support from us. They're not doing it alone. They're not just buying the product on the website and then all by themselves. That is worth something, and that's why we get paid. It's also why I think, it's important to, we'll get into the law of receptivity and stuff like that here too, because I think that's a really important one. But for people to understand that they really should get paid for what they provide because
Absolutely.
It is valuable, right? So let's see. We talked about the first law. Can we go through all the laws real quick?
Sure.
The second one is the law of compensation. Maybe talk about that one for a little while.
Yeah, this law says that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So law number one says to give more in value than you take in payment. Law number two tells us that the more people whose lives we touch with this exceptional value, the more money with which we'll be rewarded. If you have a client, you're providing exceptional value, fantastic. But that's probably not enough for you to make a very serious income. If you have 10 people, that's better. If you've got 15, that's better. But here's why your model works so well. Because by bringing people into your organization as coaches, and you can teach them how to touch the lives of 5 or 10 or 15 or 20. And by helping them bring more people, what happens is You both directly and indirectly can be touching the lives of tens of hundreds of thousands of tens of thousands, dare I say hundreds of thousands of people, directly and mostly indirectly, and yet you're still providing value to them. And you're seeing a little bit of income from each of those places. And so what happens is, this is like Nicole Martin. She was the CEO in the story, who explained to Joe that law number one is great. The law of value is the foundational principle, absolutely. But that represents only your potential income. Law number two, the number of lives you impact with that value, that represents your actual income. So you've got both the products and services and the business model to help you touch the lives of tons and tons of people, make a fantastic income by bringing such exceptional value to so many people.
Right. See, now I think some people might confuse that and say, oh, well, you know, I only have so much time to impact so many people. I can only spend so much time listening to people and having conversations with people and stuff. I only have a finite number of hours. But when you put it that way, when you talk especially about our model, our business model and the way it works, you know, like as an example for all of you on the team that are listening, you know, we just finished a team training that's all on our Facebook page. And it took me and one other coach, you know, a couple of months to put this team training system together. And it's all in there now. And as you coaches go through that, and then your coaches go through that, and then their coaches go through that, the value that we put together in that team training continues to affect lives down the line. And that grows volume in my organization, and that makes me money, right? And it goes on, and it's not me directly going and sitting down necessarily with a coach for 2 hours teaching them how to do the business. There's other ways to create value. And when you can find systems and ways to impact more people, then you can make more money from that. You can impact more lives. I love that law. That's great. So that's
and that's why following a system, that predictable success, that's why following a system, a duplicatable system, is so very important. And the cool thing is, you never have to make it about you, because it isn't. It's about everyone else, and that's the neat thing. And that's why, you know, we can take that focus off ourselves and put it on others, and it's a lot more natural to be able to do that.
Right. Okay, so the law of influence is number 3. What's that about?
Well, yeah, this one says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, this is, you know, again, one of those ones that sounds kind of out there, place other people's interests first, and yet you think about it. The great leaders, the top influencers, the most profitable business builders, this is how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking for ways to bring value, to focus on that other person. You know, just the times that we've communicated, it's so obvious to me that your focus is on building your team. You wanna make your team the stars. And, you know, to me, that's obvious, and that's what great leaders do. And but let me qualify that too for a second when we say place other people's interests first, because this can be misunderstood. So this is important. When we say place other people's interests first, we do not mean you should be anybody's doormat, or that you should be a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It's just that, as several of the mentors told Joe, the protege in the story, the golden rule of business, of sales, of networking, what have you, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus to that other focus. And as one of the mentors, Sam, told Joe, making your win about the other person's win. And when you can do that, now you are really starting to develop what we call an army of personal walking ambassadors.
You know, that I think, just to add to that, one of the things, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about this, but I always think some people are almost looking for, when they hear this, they're looking for almost like a script of how to care about other people. And it doesn't really work like that, right? Like that's doesn't really work like that in the sense that that's not genuinely caring for other people, right? There's not really much of a script of just say these things and that will show that you care, right? You actually have to care about other people. And then it becomes easy to actually connect with people when you truly actually care about the other person.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. And that's one reason why authenticity is so important. It's not just a buzzword. Our law number 4 is the law of authenticity. And it simply says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And one of the mentors in the story, Deborah Davenport, shares that early in her sales career, she learned a very important lesson. And that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, the technical skills, even the people skills, as important as they all are, and indeed they all are very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. Now, when you do, when you show up, as I like to say, as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to get to know you. They want to be hopefully part of your business, but definitely part of your life. And one of the keys to being able to show up authentically is to really understand the value you bring to the table. Because it's difficult to show up authentically when you don't really believe you have anything to be authentic about. I personally believe that as human beings, we all have 2 types of value. We have intrinsic value, which is simply by the very nature of being born, we bring value to the world. We also, though, have what I call market value. And I would define market value as that combination of strengths, traits, talents, and characteristics that allow you to bring value to the marketplace in a way that you will be compensated. Different people have different strengths. Some people have a fantastic just knowledge of the programs and the product, and they're able to share it in such a way that people understand. Some people have a natural sense of empathy. Some are able to just connect with others on just a core heart level, and people respond to that. Other people are fantastic at connecting people with other people. In other words, what I'm saying is we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. And while it's great to understand our weaknesses, what we really want to do, and sometimes we need to mitigate those weaknesses. Sometimes we need to turn those weaknesses into strengths, and sometimes we can kind of let them go. But it's really important to know our strengths so that we can lead with those strengths. And that's why having a mentor in the business, maybe the person who brought you into the business, or maybe someone who brought them into the bit, or whomever, it's great because when you can get together with them and they can sort of help you identify those strengths, because sometimes it's difficult for us to know our own strengths because we're too emotionally involved with ourselves. We're human beings. We see the things in us that aren't strong, and so sometimes it takes someone who we respect who can sort of help us identify that. And the more we can do that, the more we can come at things authentically because we feel good about ourselves.
That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of led us right into the law of authenticity, which is really what I was starting to talk about there and didn't even realize it. But the last law is the law of receptivity. And I wanted to ask a little bit, I'll let you go through the law of receptivity, but to me, this is one of the things that really ties the book together, because specifically on our team, I think a lot of us struggle with giving and then feeling frustrated that when we end up not receiving. So we'll run like free challenge groups, and then people will go off and buy products on Amazon and not buy them through us and say, oh, well, I can one-click order over here on Amazon, so I'm not going to buy it through you, or I get it cheaper over here, or my buddy lent it to me, or something like that. We give our time and we give our advice and we provide value, and then no sale results. And so when you talk about the law of receptivity and just how that works, I know from Go Giver Sell More, there was also a lot of talk about how having a valid business plan tied into the whole thing to make it work is really important. So I know there's a lot in that question, but I think...
Well, they're all very important aspects. So first, the law of receptivity itself simply says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. That means that just like we breathe out, we also have to breathe in. It's not a matter of one or the other. It's a matter of both. We give and we receive. I like how you said it. It ties it up. Receiving ties it together. If the giving of value is the foundational principle, the law of receptivity is the one that brings it all together and ties it into a neat package. Because without that, it doesn't matter. You're only going to be able to accomplish so much. This should not be mistaken with saying, oh, I can only give to a certain point. No, but it also means that you give intelligently. You have a business plan. It's not a matter, there's nothing magical about this. Mm-hmm. When you give value and you constantly give value to people and make yourself of value to them and make yourself indispensable to them, then what happens is they're naturally going to want to do business with you. You are going to be the one, because it's more than just a click away. If they want to be working with you closely and they want the benefits they can attain from you, the excellence, the attention, the empathy, the team, the whole thing, then they know they need to do that with you. And that's fine. You're a professional. Okay. And you should be paid for what you do, And so, yeah, having a business plan, having an understanding of this, very, very important. A lot of times what happens is we can sabotage ourselves because we don't really feel as though we deserve to receive. And remember, we're only going to accomplish what our belief system says we should accomplish. So if we've grown up with the feeling that money's a bad thing, or people get rich because they take advantage of others, or, money is bad, or this and that, and all of a sudden you're providing value to lots of people and you see all this money about to come in, but really your belief system says, no, money's bad. Rich people are evil. I'll be unhappy if I'm right. Then all of a sudden you're going to start doing things even unconsciously that's going to push away those. A wonderful book about that was written in 1960 by Dr. Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics, which is one of the best books on that, on how the mind really works and how everything ties in to those unconscious beliefs, what I call the belief system, which is a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, cultural mores, everything we touch, taste, hear, see, smell. But by the time we're little more than toddlers, our belief system's pretty much set. And we grow up with these beliefs, and we are unconsciously directed by, in other words, we have this unconscious operating system at work. We're not even aware of it. And so again, if we have money issues, this is something we need to really delve into. That's why, people who are great prosperity teachers, like a Randy Gage, is someone, people should be reading his blog, the Randy Gage Prosperity blog, or his videos. Bob Proctor, another one who just on when it comes to prosperity. What a wonderful, fantastic teacher he is. And of course, there's people who within your organization or people within Beachbody who already specialize in that sort of thing, and you can plug people into those people. Right. And so, I make it a point to study prosperity and because you know what? We're always going to keep hearing things on the news that is anti-prosperity. So we've got to check our premises, and we've got to say, okay, wait a second, why is that? And what we do is we consciously bring in everything that says, yes, prosperity is good. But we need to remember that while it's giving and receiving, the key is to focus on the giving. That's right, that focus we were talking about. Focus on the giving and then allow the receiving. Mm-hmm. And when you allow yourself to do that, your life, boom, just changes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a big one for a lot of us, because we really do focus a lot on the giving in Beachbody. There's a lot of talk about giving value to other people,
and that's good.
And it's very, very good. It's very good. But I think it's without that other piece, it becomes this. Yes. All I'm doing is giving, and all people are doing is taking, and
you don't feel
$100 a week, and I'm spending 8 hours a day on this, and it's not cool.
Exactly. And it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve you, and it doesn't serve the other person, because you're not going to be able to work with those people anymore and help them if you're not making money through the value you're providing. Just, keep them. Remember what we said earlier, money is an echo of value. Right. So the more that you focus on giving the value and then allowing yourself to receive, you've earned the right. When you've provided value, you've earned the right to receive, not the entitlement to, the right to receive because of the value you've provided.
Right. That's great. Well, I think I've got one more kind of thing to touch on here, and that's on our team, we don't do a lot of sales training so much, like super technique based stuff, but we do a little bit of it. And some of the people on the team have probably heard some of the buzzwords, various sales technique training type things. One of the ones that we have heard a lot in Beachbody is the feel, felt, found, type of thing. There's a lot of paradigms and sales things and skills and techniques that people invest a lot of time and money into it. Talk about those. Like, are those not important, or how do those fit into all this?
No, it's important to understand sales and to study sales. Absolutely. Like any profession, you are in sales. And I know you might want to think, oh, no, but I'm really not. Yes, you are. Because things don't sell themselves. That's why you're needed. And I'm speaking to everybody, okay? That's why you're needed. First, let's define sales. So we really, because some people are put off by the term sales because they think sales is something you do to someone. No, sales is something you do with and for someone. People think, well, selling is about trying to convince someone to buy something they don't want or need. That's not selling. That's called being a con artist, okay? And there's no place for that. Here's how we can define selling, okay? Selling is simply discovering what the other person needs, wants, and desires, and helping them to get it. With that definition of selling, and that is the definition of selling, you should feel good about what you're doing, okay? And so, but also, so I shouldn't even say but, and a part of that is understanding the sales process. How can you be a professional salesperson? How can you be a successful salesperson if you don't understand the processes of selling? So like anything else, a chiropractor continues to study chiropractic. An accountant continues to study accounting. As health coaches, you continue to study health, right? The programs and the products, and everything about them. Continue to do that. And we also need to study sales. Now, first of all, with the feel, felt, found, what is that really? That's simply a principle that allows you to help a person see that a concern they have may or may not be something that should or shouldn't stop them, but doing it in a way that doesn't make them feel defensive about it. I understand how you feel. Many others felt the same way. What they found was, and that's great, the principle. One thing I do want to caution people on with the feel, felt, and found is that because it's a very, very well-known, kind of sales technique, if you will, and people use this outside of sales. People use this with their kids, and people use this, that when you do the feel, felt, found, it can sound technique-y. And so you want to make sure you don't do that, because so the minute someone feels though they're being techniqued, all rapport is kind of lost. But what you can, and by the way, we don't always understand exactly how someone feels. Unless we're them, we don't necessarily. So sometimes very legitimate to just say instead, that's a fantastic question, or that question makes a lot of sense, or very understandable why you'd have that concern. That's certainly, a very valid, concern or whatever. Or it might be, I understand how you feel. I've been there as well. And, and then you move it another way to then now bring up the explanation or ask them another question to see if that will. So whatever works for it. So I'm just saying the feel, felt, found is based in absolute excellence. It's just you need to, sometimes when you say it, you need to be a little careful it doesn't come off mechanically. I understand how you feel.
It kind of goes back to the authenticity law, right? I mean, being authentic in it. Like if you actually don't know how they feel, then it's not very authentic to use feel, felt, found to get to where you want to go.
That's a great point. Sometimes the best thing you can do is say, you know what? I can't even imagine how you feel because I haven't been in your shoes. Right. But you know what? Maybe this person who doesn't have time because they have 7 kids and 2 jobs, and you can't, but what you can do is you can say, what I'd love to do is share with you a quick story of a woman named, so-and-so, and then you bring up a certain situation, and then if you can even introduce that person, so you make it so it's not you, it's that other person. So there's many ways of doing this, but the big thing is to authentically connect with that person, not try to overcome or what have you. But yeah, I do believe that in very much sales training is important, but it's not the difference maker. Because a lot of people have been very well trained in sales, and yet they don't necessarily produce a lot. And hey, I'll just say this: a lot of people know the know the Beachbody training programs and the products like the back of their hands, and maybe they don't produce a whole lot. So is product knowledge important? Of course it is, but it's not the key factor necessarily.
Right.
Because what about belief? Belief's very important. You've got to believe. And of course, in your all's case, you can absolutely believe in what you're doing, but there's many people who believe in what they're doing and still don't produce a whole lot. So what I'm saying is not that any of them aren't important. They're all important, but they're also all baseline. They're what you need just to be in the game. The key, though, is what we find time and again, the greatest leaders, the greatest influencers, the top money earners, the producers, they are absolutely 100% unabashedly laser focused on others, on bringing value to others. Not at the expense of themselves, no, because that has nothing to do with it, but on bringing value to others. And those are the people who tend to really succeed.
That's great. I love that. And to give an example of that, hopefully I won't embarrass you too much here, but we're going to talk a little bit about where people can find your books and things like that here in a second. But just for everybody listening, when Bob agreed to be on the call here, he never asked how big the team was or how many book sales he might get out of it, or, like, is it a big enough team that I'll actually, get something back out of this whole thing. It was just a yes. It was just, yeah, I'll be on your team call when, here's my schedule. If we can work out a time, I'll be on the team call. And then you can tell from what you're doing, Bob, here, that you're interested in bringing value to our team, which is basically practicing what you preach. And from that, I know for a fact that I can name more than a dozen people who have bought your book either on audio or, on wherever, hard copies, to read it before this call. And I'm sure a bunch will do that afterwards. And I'm sure you'll be open to receiving those things as well. So, but I think it's just a great example of exactly what you're talking about here, is that you're willing to be on a team call, and you weren't asking, well, is it a big enough team for me to spend my time on that? I'm a best-selling author. I'm this, I'm that. What, show me what you got. It was just, yes, I'll do that. And
no, thank you.
With that, like, can you tell us a little bit, if people do want to buy Go Giver or your new book about winning people over without coercion, or Go Giver Sell More, what's the best way for them to do that? Is it Amazon or on your site, or how should they go about that?
Yeah, my suggestion would be to go to Burg, BURG.com. And while they're there, they can subscribe to my Influence and Success Insights. And when they do that, they're going to receive a few really value-based special reports, as well as Chapter 1 of the Go Giver, Go Giver Sell More, Adversaries into Allies, and Endless Referrals, so they can read whatever they choose to. It's just the first chapter of each one to see if they like it first. Then they can always click through in order if they like where it's going so far. They can also connect with me on social media, subscribe to my blog, or whatever else they'd like to do.
Okay, great. Wow, I appreciate that. Do you have any other things you want to say to the team before we're done?
Just keep up the great work. Understand that what you're bringing to people, health and wealth and well-being and good feeling and confidence and peace of mind and all those things, you're doing such wonderful work. The word of your whole company is spreading so far, and it's because of people like you. You are getting it out there. So just keep adding value to the lives of many, many, many people, and I wish you the best of success.
Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate you being on the call a lot. And yeah, just thanks for being here, and we'll keep in touch, okay?
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.